Okay. This is it's been a while since I did anything like this, so this video is probably going to be very choppy. It's all over the place. Hello, everybody. My name is Bon Bolapti, and you don't know me. Not a lot of people will know me, but I have been streaming Overwatch basically since its launch back in 2016. I'm an incredibly small time streamer. The last time I did anything video wise, I'm gonna try my best to not use the word content here. The last thing I did anything video wise was the week before. No, this was like literally on the week. The last time I made any kind of video was criticizing the way the community was playing, or the way that they were complaining about the matches being what they were. And I said something along the lines of like, well, you know, if it's a problem here, it's because it's a problem there, and the roles need to be and like within that week they changed it to the 2-2-2 format. So I don't think like once that happened, my video no longer became relevant, so I stuck it on private, even though I had some really good points there. But like that's like the last time I made any kind of video content worthwhile watching, and that was like a long friggin' time ago. The only reason why I'm making a video now is because like Overwatch is 10 years old now at this point, and I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't make any kind of video content. Me, much like everybody else out there, love playing this game. There's just something about its gameplay loop and its characters and its map design that just keeps me coming back. And because of that, I think I would feel out of place if I didn't put something out there. And the funny thing is that leading up to this, I know I missed the mark by like, I'm recording this on the day after the actual anniversary day of Overwatch, this video, but like leading up to this, I actually wrote almost 20 pages worth of stuff for Overwatch, because I had an idea and I wanted to execute that idea, so I wrote a shit ton of things. Pardon my language. I wrote so much things that were on my mind, whether it was like the community and the game itself, and I went through every single character and I had something to say about every single character, and that would have been it. That would have been the video. But as I was doing that, there was like an audio problem that made me have to sort out my microphone. But also within that, I think there were things that were happening within the community that just made me change my perspective. The words that I had written out no longer felt like those needed to be said. And instead, I feel like I had to come up with something completely different. And right now, I am spitballing. I am off the cuff. I do not have anything prepared for this bit. But it's hard to understand what it feels like to be an Overwatch fan in this day and age, especially as somebody in my age that is playing it for as long as I have, and the types of things that are out there, and the people within this community, and the perspective and the behavior and all that stuff. And a lot has definitely changed over the last 10 years. It's funny to think that Overwatch would have almost been a niche game. And I'm not even saying this as somebody who is a Blizzard fan. Like, honestly, my relationship with Blizzard is that I'm very late to the party. I never played StarCraft. I never played Diablo. I enjoyed the first Lost Vikings game on the Super Nintendo when I was a child. But like, um, I got into being a Blizzard fan late. I remember getting Diablo 3 at a midnight launch back when those things were still a thing, and I played it late at night with friends, and then Overwatch is announced, and it piques my interest because I've always been interested in those kinds of games. I've been primarily a console player, and I only recently had a friend group that did a lot of the FPS stuff on PC. So I was looking at Overwatch as like, oh, okay, well then this will be the thing. I'm looking forward to that because I like the idea of Team Fortress 2, but I would have gotten into that game so late that I feel like my barrier of entry just would have like put me off by it. And also, Valve games play way different. Because I'm playing Deadlock right now, and oh my gosh, the controls in Deadlock are so much more specific than Overwatch's feel. But that's besides the point. That's like another video that I have planned that I still haven't done, of like the spectrum of Marvel Rivals to Deadlock with Overwatch being in the middle. But that's like a video for another time. if I ever do it. God, where was I? So, but yeah. So then this game comes out and it's a lot of fun, and I am absolutely dog shit at mostly everybody. And I think the characters at launch that I were the most comfortable with were Junkrat on DPS, Zenyatta on support, and I don't think I liked tanking at all. I think I was very bad at tanking. I'm trying to remember what was the ones, and like I think maybe it had to have been Reinhardt because he was the one with the shield back in the day. So clearly, that's it. Um, since then, with the amount of characters that are out there, and I have become a lot more comfortable with flexing all roles. I've adopted the philosophy that you should know more than one character. Like in another life, I probably would have been a Junkrat one trick, and I would have probably been the most annoying person in the game. But I've since evolved my taste. Oh yeah, no, I guess Winston too. Sorry, I'm gonna be all over the place. This is off the cuff. Remember. So what I've learned in my 10 years of playing this game is that if you are going to be a flex player, it's better for you to know more than one character, because the way that Overwatch is designed, and people give flack for being like, ooh, Counterwatch, but I feel like that stuff misses the point. Like over time for me, I've realized that a lot of my favorite tanks, for example, are poke tanks. As fun as Reinhardt was, I think tank characters like Sigma or Domina are a lot more geared towards my playstyle, at least as a tank. With the exception being, if I'm having a hard time playing those characters, I would either switch to Junker Queen to be a lot more brawly. Oh my god, she's so much fun. I get like in some kind of friggin' hypnotic state whenever I play Junker Queen. But if that doesn't work, then I've found and I've noticed that Winston is an incredibly good pick, an all-rounder, and honestly, that tank is viable in way too many situations that you wouldn't think. And with the DPS role, obviously I still play a lot of Junkrat, but then I have characters like Sombra or Ash or God, May is still a threat after all these years. May is still a threat, which I have to honestly say, and we'll get into some things later on about. We're going to talk about certain characters and how I feel about them, but I think there are some points in the community where the drama is a little bit overblown with some stuff. Like I'm not really going to name names here because honestly I forget names a lot of the time. But on the subject of Sombra, for example, it was really funny for me that once hero bans became a thing, how Sombra was the most banned hero. I don't know if it was like across the board or whether it was just like metal rank that was doing that. Like it could have been top 500, it could have been masters. Maybe nobody likes playing against Sombra, but that for me was a turning point in how this community views this game of like, wow, they really don't like engaging. Like I honest to God think that hero bans is a mistake because it feels to me like nobody likes engaging with the mechanics of the game. Because Sombra is a very good character that her biggest asset is that she points out the flaws in how the team works. Like if you do not have a well-oiled team that understands when there is a threat in the back line, then yeah, you're gonna lose. I have been in plenty of Sombra games myself where I'm either exploiting a situation or the enemy team actually knows what they're doing and I'm gonna have a hard time and then I get blamed. But another such example is I've seen when Jetpack Cat was introduced, I've seen the ban rate on Jetpack Cat, and to me that just tells me that like, okay, gamers just don't want to look up. Like here is a character that is perpetually in the sky at all times, and instead of just like looking up and shooting at the character, just ban them. But I get it because you're so focused. Like when you're on the field, you're so focused on one thing that you can't really think about other stuff. But that's why the sound design in Overwatch is so important and so good. Like I think it is one of the very few games out there that does sound design very well. To be in the heat of battle, like especially if you're wearing headphones, I would recommend anybody wear headphones or earphones when playing this game because it really like immerses you in that. Like if you are a Widowmaker, for example, and you're trying to line up your shots and you're in first person mode, but then suddenly you hear footsteps or Lucio rolling along. Like when you hear that coming, you can better prepare yourself and be able to fight back. I think whenever I play Widow, I spend a lot more time using her secondary fire just because I'm very aware of the people that are trying to get me in the back line. So I think if you ever see me streaming Widowmaker, I'm never really sniping on them. God, I really am rolling all over the place with this video. There are some caveats with the sound design because I think for my money, I feel like Pharah is a threat, and I think I can't remember, but I do know that back in the day they said something that like the louder characters are the ones that are the most dangerous. I think is somebody must have said that. So I never really understood why Pharah was so quiet. Support. This is where we get into when everybody plays this game, they are going to bring their own ego into the situation, and I totally understand that. Whether it's well, I have the highest kill count and the most damage, so everybody else is to blame, or tanks are like all over the place and DPS aren't helping them out and stuff like that. My ego comes out whenever I play Moira on support, because I love pretty much every support character. I'm terrible with Mercy. I cannot understand how to play Jetpack Cat for the life of me, but a lot, if not every, support character in the game is a lot of fun to play. But what I find with my ego is that if the team is struggling and I'm on support, I will switch to Moira and I will just do everything myself. Like that's I've always, like, it's just funny for me that, oh, you know, like I'm trying to heal everybody as best as I can and like dole out damage, but like nothing is working. Or the way that I play and how I immerse myself into this game is that you pay attention to everything on the map. So if I'm pinging something that is in the back line attacking us, or if there's something over here that is like taking easy shots on the team and nobody is paying attention to it, I will get frustrated. I will switch to Moira, and then I will just solo the enemy team. I think for the longest time there was this joke that I had amongst my friends that was hashtag all the work, which was like, oh, you know, nothing is working, so I'll just switch to Moira, and now suddenly we're winning. But like I said, everybody's got some kind of ego, and that's where mine comes into play. God, I really am rambling all over the place, aren't I? Game aside, the one thing that I've noticed in these past 10 years is just what kind of community we have. There are the darker parts of this community that I think we should acknowledge and all understand. But our biggest understanding, or like the biggest thing that we should come to terms with as a community, is just the kind of team that Team 4 is, and the kind of crosshairs that they found themselves being under, and their working conditions, and all of the stuff that they had to go through, and all of the changes, and like Overwatch 1 to 2 to 1 again, and they really came out of it in these past 10 years continuing to make something special. And I really don't think that Team 4 gets any or enough credit for what they've done. I know that there has been the occasional, I think it was either like 2 years ago, somebody on social media was like, let's do a thanks Overwatch developers hashtag, and just say nice things about it, about them, and really lift everybody up. And we could always just keep doing that. I think another of the things that actually like stopped me from making the video that I wanted to make is when the anniversary event came out and seeing the huge reaction to what the event ended up looking like and how negative a reaction that was. I wish I was it's one of those things that I wish I was a more known person in this community to have something to say about it. I don't want to say anything harsh about the community because there's lots of us, and I understand that nobody is me and nobody sees the perspective. I would wager that this community has a lot of young people in it and very few old folks like me. I am in my 40s. I understand that a huge chunk of streamers or content creators out there are like anywhere in between 20 to like early 30s. So who's a who's an old man to say anything about this shit? But I think it's like I think in the past 10 years has taught me anything is that humility is just as important. To acknowledge the size of the team that Team 4 is, and the kinds of hurdles that they had to face. Like when you bring up that they had to make a sequel because it was um, a executive suite MO of like this needs to be done. Like we can't keep forgetting about the past that this game had to put up with. Like I've read this book. You understand everything that was going on in that stuff. Like you will be surprised on the game of telephone that is like the most basic, simple information of all the stupid bullshit that company had to go through, and then some dipshit online just says something, and then those people follow that idiot for like the thing, and then like we keep finding ourselves in this mess years and years and years and years later. Sorry, I'm very passionate about how misinformation just takes control of this fucking community all the goddamn time. But yeah, like humility is a big thing, and I think that's something that we should all pretty much practice. And it goes back to how everybody plays this game. A good example is that I was streaming yesterday, and I was playing a game where I was tank. This is like very early in the stream because I can only tank so much if the matches aren't fun. But it was very early in the stream, and I was trying my best to be forward facing, but also understanding that there was things in the back line. This was like something that would there was a tracer being an absolute menace in the back line. So I tried picking a tank character that would like be forward facing and also help out with the back line, but I couldn't do everything. And I was indicating to my DPS that like you got to help me out here because I can't be everywhere at once. And then the one of the DPS that was Cassidy was criticizing me and calling me a shitty tank. But like the entire time I was like, but you are the guy that is like one of the best characters to deal with Tracer, so I don't know what's going on. But you face those kinds of games a lot, you know, like somebody is going to bring their attitude into something, and whether they're learning or they think they're hot shit, and then something goes wrong. And I find that funny how often you encounter those kinds of games. And this is going nowhere. I have no idea why I'm fucking saying any of this stuff. Well, how is this relevant? Oh, we were talking about community. Me, as an old person, there are some things that I will like look back and I will criticize. Like, I think shipping, for example, I have zero problem with it, but I do find it funny how like Mercy is legitimately the most shipped character in the game with so many people. and then there's like the aspect of the community that it feels like they take such ownership over a character and ship them the way that they want to ship them, that when something official and blizzardy comes out, whereas like one character is waving and smiling at another character, there's like a fucking breakdown on social media that turns into this whole thing where the community has to go like, can we please just holy fuck stop it. And there are also things that I think, when I was alluding to the misinformation earlier, I think a big chunk of that is how we dole out this information or share this stuff. I think on a community level needs to be better. And I do genuinely want to criticize something like Overwatch Cavalry is a very good example of taking something completely out of context and never elaborating on it. I understand that is one of those community things that like a lot of people point to or grab information from, but don't really realize that somebody that basically went to school to study and be better at how information is being shared to everybody else, how frustrating it is to just like have a culture built around like just taking from other people's posts and presenting it as their information, as long as they slap a logo on there, or like they'll give you a sentence of like, here's a thing, and then like no follow-up tweet about like, here was the context. That's where a lot of this misinformation is handled. We're like, oh, okay, we'll just take this thing, and then people have to fill in the blanks most of the time because nobody ever really digs deep. Nobody really bothers with doing a little bit more work. I think there are some people out there that do actually go the extra mile of being better about information, but that's not a lot of people. Then you get the streamers that obviously I'm not going to name names because I think there are people out there that are more toxic for the community than I think they have ever any intention of ever being. And a game being as popular as it is, and you're going to bring all sorts of people, you're going to have to navigate where the positive energy is. And I think that once there's any amount of negativity in this game, it does spread farther and faster than any positivity does. But like that's just the nature of video games. It's not just a Overwatch problem. Every friggin' community has it. When Marvel Rivals came out, how everybody was positive on it when that game first came out, and then they just speed ran all the negative bullshit that Overwatch had, and it was really wild to see that stuff happen in real time because the game wasn't even a year old before it hit that breaking point. Realistically, and again, I have to point out that I wrote almost 20 pages of what I've wanted to say about Overwatch in its 10 years, feeling like it's all rattling around in my brain trying to make sense while I just sit here and improvise an entire video. Means a lot to me. I think it means more to me to be able to just sit here and rant about something rather than like try and script myself into saying the things that I need to say. I don't necessarily feel like I'm the only person that feels that way. I'm sure everybody within this community has something to say about it because this game is 10 years old and we all have some kind of passion for what this game is. Other things that I have learned about playing this game is how much tier lists are a waste of time, and I understand that people out there got to make bank and create content for like their channels and make sure everybody's coming back. But I think that's definitely one of those things that skewed the audience's perception of what this game can be. And while it is easy, and I understand that you can pigeonhole characters into certain categories of like, well, you know, this is the best character in the game, so they're an S tier, and these characters over here are dog shit tier. But like under the right hands, the character that is dog shit tier is going to be S tier. It's like that's just the nature of all of the buffs and nerfs in the world. Does not make any single character unplayable. It just makes you think that they are unplayable because they suddenly don't play 100% the way that they used to. And I understand certain things, like when they changed Mercy's movement tech, and then you go on social media and see the amount of Mercy players that are like, oh, this is terrible, I'm gonna go on strike, I'm gonna do this, blah blah blah, like Mercy characters deserve better than this. And then I played Mercy for the first time in a long time when those changes took effect, and I saw no difference. Like it didn't feel bad to me. But then again, I'm also a bad Mercy player, so that like that stuff was on me, that I just don't understand how any of these things work. But like you see where I'm going from with this. Remember when Malga first came out, and this was during the period where new characters were unlocked in the battle pass. If you spent money on the battle pass, you get them instantly. But if you're using the battle pass for free, I think they were like unlocked in tier 2 or 3 or something like that. And the whole hubbub about Malga being a play to win tank was so funny to me. Like that was the narrative that was being pushed online with streamers and content creators, is that Malga is a play to win character. But that makes zero fucking sense. When a character comes out, sure, it's one thing to you get to play the shiny new character, but I think it's very beneficial for people to play in quick play, that whenever that tank is up there, to be able to learn how to deal with somebody like Malga. Like you, and when you look at the tier list stuff and be like, well, there's nothing that can be done about Malga because blah 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 blah. You have to be able to engage with the content, because people were out here saying that Malga was pay to win, but like there are literally DPS characters that were built to destroy characters like Malga. So to be able to say something is pay to win just blows my mind. And even tanks, for example, I can think of a number of tanks off the top of my head that still to this day are like really good against Malga. So that is just an example of where I think the community can get wrong in certain aspects of like, somebody somewhere doesn't like the way something is, therefore they're going to push this narrative, and because it's a negative narrative, it latches on to all these other people, and then it spreads, and then suddenly like Malgo's a play to win character. That's why I never really understood the whole like Brigitte ruined the game. Which like, yeah, like Brigitte coming out of the gates was a really strong character, had an insane ult that like kept the team alive and was just a really big bully, and goats existed because of Brigitte. But if you gave yourself a little bit more time, or understood the way certain characters could play, there's always a way around these things. But again, going back to where I think tier lists have ruined the perception of how people play this game, because they will think, oh well, like these are the tiers, these are the viable picks, and then something like goats comes along, and then suddenly it should throw all of that shit out of the water, because the kinds of characters that were in the goats meta, you had what was it, like it was like three tank and 3 support, right? I'm trying to remember everything. It was Brigitte, Lucio, I know, and it was dive heavy, right? So it also had Winston and Diva and Zarya. I'm trying to remember what the other support was. It could have either, I'm sure it's probably Mercy or something like that. But like, that was the thing. That was the meta that like destroyed people. I personally believe, and granted, this has happened in quick play matches around that time, that there's always a way around these things. It's like, yeah, if a team is well coordinated, you're gonna have a hard time, but there's always a way you can isolate every single one of those elements to be able to just defeat goats. But it's so funny to me that even in 2026, people will still look at Brigitte as being a character that killed the game. But it's like, I don't know. I had such an easy time against Brigitte. But, you know, like, this community is vast, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, or I guess millions of people that play this game. So no one person is going to have the same perspective. I gotta stop talking about these things within the community, otherwise I'm going to ramble. I will say at the end of this thing, there are things that I wanted to bring up, character wise. Specifically, um, the Canadian perspective about this game is I have an immense amount of pride for Sojourn being the first Canadian hero in this game, and it really does a lot for me. And like, this is one of those things. I'm gonna say one of the things that Overwatch gets right about Canadian representation, and I'm gonna say one of the things that Overwatch got immensely wrong about Canadian representation. I think Sojourn is a really compelling character, and I like that she is the first Canadian character in this game that, like, full Canadian. Like, I know Farah is half Canadian, but she was first full bread and butter Canadian in this game, and she wasn't a ridiculous stereotype. And you do not understand how, in terms of like how very little represented Canada gets in video games, and to see a character like not only defy what a character is supposed to look like I'm honestly surprised that it's been how many years and Sojourn doesn't have a Canadian tuxedo skin. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, like, she could pull it off, but the way she talks and her attitude and overall like sense of self as a character is one of those things that I love about the way characters are done in this game. I'm like, sure, it's very Saturday morning cartoon in its nature, because people like Tracer are a very good example of a very exaggerated, I'm gonna get this wrong, but like, good eye gov, you know, like that kind of accent. Oh, chimney sweep. I'm rambling here, but yeah, I don't know, and I love that character because of that. And I think the thing that they get wrong about Canadian representation, and this is one of those things that bummed me out, that when Venture was first revealed at a BlizzCon, and it was just an image of them and a short little video of gameplay, to be all like, oh, this is how they play. My favorite thing about that video about when they showcased Venture of how they played, and the amount of people within the community was like, oh, whoever is showing off this character is super dog shit at the game, like they are not aiming or something like that. I love that, because in my mind I was thinking, well, that's probably not the point. They just want to showcase what the character does, and I'm sure that they don't want to show Venture hitting anybody, because then there are people out there that are going to scrutinize just how much damage their abilities do. and it would be too early to tell. But anyway, on the subject of Venture and the bad Canadian representation, I wouldn't say bad. It's just like unfortunate. Is that when they introduced that character was from the Maritimes, I was kind of excited for that. Like, well, even though I talk about like, oh, you know, like bad Canadian representation always bums me out, but then I was like, this is another thing that is really cool aspect about Canadian culture, is that there are people out there that exist that are brown skinned, that talk with a Nova Scotian accent, and I think I was like really bummed out by, they just didn't sound Canadian at all. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting a lot more slang words, or just talking the way they talk. about certain things. Like, I'm gonna try my best to have an example of like how Venture's accent could have been represented.
I did never ever heard someone say it like that. No one says Toronto like that. It's two syllables. Biff the T. The second T, you replace it with an N. It's Trana.
If Valeria Rodriguez knows, if they are out there somewhere, and if I could get this message across to them, were they aware that like this is how a Canadian could talk? Like, I think I was just bummed out that like if they're a Canadian character and they don't really have that Canadian accent at all, but like they sound like an American by way of Mexico. And then I was like, well, then why? What's the point of them being from Canada if I don't hear the Canadian accent? It's a petty thing, and I understand that it's a petty thing, but like I still think that it would have been lovely to have Sojourn and Adventure just have a dialogue between them that is just full of Canadianisms. And I don't know if I had any amount of impact in this community and straight to Blizzard, I would have just loved more Canadian bullshit in the game, at least between those two characters. And Blizzard, let me know if you want me to write some dialogue. Oh my god. To end this stuff, I know I've been very rambly and off the cuff and not really making much sense, I'm sure, but I will release a blog of the majority of the stuff that I had written, because there's a good chunk of those 19 and a half pages that were just individual blurbs for every character, and I think I should at least release that. So I will put that up onto my blog site for everybody to read, and I'll put it in the description at the bottom of this video so people can check that out, because there are things that I think that are worth saying, whether it's like characters like Sojourner Venture, or I've had something to say about Anran and Farah and even Juno. And I'm sure if you made it to the end of this video, congratulations. Holy crap. Did I make any amount of sense? I don't know. This is the problem with improvising as opposed to just reading something off script. But yeah, I mean, look, like I said, virtually in the space of Overwatch in the past 10 years, I have been streaming for a very long time, and I am pretty much a nobody. So if you did catch wind of this video and stay till the end and like leave a like or even make a comment, I'd really appreciate it. Much like everybody else, do not expect a lot of content out of me. I don't do that all that much. Even though I have been streaming for the past 10 years, it is still very much a hobby. But if you do ever want to check out my streams, and I have time to do it, I'm over up on twitch.tv/bonbalapti. Yeah, this game is important and meaningful and impactful, and has been there when I needed something. And in the past 10 years, a lot of things about everybody's lives have changed. Like we've went through a pandemic with this stuff, and we've stuck around with Team 4 while Blizzard was going through a lot of its bullshit. And we're still here because we love this game and we appreciate the developers for what they've done. And, you know, hopefully we're all still going to be here for 10 more years. And whatever happens to this game or wherever it goes, whether it's like a TV show, or if that mobile game starts popping off, or if they finally realize that PvE game, or if Overwatch eventually turns into an MMO. You know, we're all gonna be there for it because we love this game. We love the communities. We love the developers. And despite all of my fucking rambling, I hope to God that it made sense and you understand why I love this game, or at least where I come from with my appreciation with this game. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for your time. Thank you if you made it to the end of this video. And thank you, Team 4, for making a really cool experience. And I hope to see you guys in game. That's a great way to end it.